right, we are live. All right, we're live. Takes everything a second to sync up.
Oh, I bet.
Have you noticed?
Mm-hmm.
Again.
There it is.
Okay. Again, I didn't ask you, how's your day today?
Well, my day is going much better now. I'm here. I'm smiling. I'm eager to just move forward with the today. It's been a nice, relaxing day. I got a lot of rest.
Good, good. It has kind of been a nice, relaxing day, hasn't it?
It's a rainy day here, so.
Is it?
Yeah.
It was nice here today. It was a little bit warm, but I got out a little bit with my granddaughter this afternoon, so that was nice. And then I came home and relaxed.
Yeah, it's what I call closet cleaning days. Nice.
Yeah.
Don't really want to do anything, so let's organize something.
Yes. Or crochet, right?
Yeah, hands have been a little yucky lately with the rain. Hard to move. So
yeah.
A little bit different crocheting.
That stinks. It's a little bit frustrating. Because I'll want to do it, but I can't.
You put the hook in a vice grip and then you just move your stuff with your hand, the yarn, and your crochet hook can stay stationary. And that's the alternative way I do it when my hands are sore.
Oh, wow, that's intense.
I know, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, you'll have to show me that. It's really
cool. I will. It's the backup plan when the hands don't feel good.
Yeah, that's committed.
Oh, yes, very committed to my crochet. That is a definite.
I know. Well, let's start just to a little recap of where we ended off yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Well, kind of where we've ended up. We've met you. We've met your father, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
And we've met your mom, D. And so today we've met them up till about 7 years old. Yesterday we were talking about up until your parents had split when you were 2.
Mm-hmm.
And you had gone back and forth for a while. And so now we're at a point where you're 7.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time you're going to go and you're going to be in the same school for a while.
Yep.
Because yesterday, we learned that you would go 1 year with your mom to the school that she lived in.
Yep.
And then the next year you would go with your dad.
Yep.
And back and forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you're 7 and your stepfather said, this is enough. You're killing this girl. She's exhausted. You said you always had a bag with you. You were always just ready to go wherever, whoever picked you up and took you.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you were going. So now you're going to your dad's. And we had talked about your dad being Mormon previously. And he had been Mormon since you were 2 years old when he separated from your mom and married your stepmother. Is that correct?
Correct. They got married in December of 60. I can't remember. 68? 68, because I'm 67. I'm trying to remember now. My sister just reminded me of the year. I think it was 68. 67. Had to be 67.
Okay.
So yeah, I was just before I turned 3 in 68. Because I was born in January, so I would have been just before I was 3, he remarried.
And that's when he became Mormon.
Yes.
And when he became Mormon, he converted.
Mm-hmm. He had the missionary lessons and was baptized. And then later, him and my stepmom got married after he had, and then they went through, I believe they had to wait a year in order to go through the temple. And so I believe it was a year later that they got sealed.
In the temple.
Mm-hmm.
So for people that don't know what getting sealed means,
Getting sealed
how
is where you're married for time and all eternity. It's not till death do you part. There are some, like in my dad's case, when you have a civil wedding, and you're a convert, you have to wait 1 year into membership before you're eligible to go to the temple. And I know there's exceptions made in a lot of different ways. A lot of different things can happen, but that's kind of the norm. It's a 1 year temple prep class that you take to prepare you for going to the temple.
okay.
And so, to the best of my understanding, that's the same process he went through. If you're not, for people that don't they're not like the convert, if you're like both members, then there is no civil, your marriage and sealing, it's all the one event.
Okay.
For
So
my
in
dad,
this
it was
instance,
2 events.
okay, so there was like the civil wedding,
Mm-hmm.
and then a year later they were sealed in the temple.
Correct.
Okay.
And that made all their children be born under the covenant because they were sealed in the temple. So their children are automatically born under the covenant, which means they're not converts. They're born
They're
under the covenant. They're
automatically
automatically born under the covenant. There's certain things that you're entitled to for that. That's just the way it is.
okay.
I didn't have those same things because I wasn't born under the covenant. My parents weren't members when I was born.
Okay. So now when your dad joins and he joins with your stepmom,
Mm-hmm.
and they're sealed and they don't have any children yet, the two of them,
Mm-mm.
right? And was your dad all in?
Yes.
And your stepmother goes back like centuries, right?
Decades. Yes. She goes
Decades.
back to the beginning. There's family members that actually had ordinances done by Brigham Young in Utah. There were members of my stepmom's family that were given special dispensations to become members of the order, which was a whole different little subset back when Utah wasn't Utah yet, and Texas was still Mexico. And so it's an amazing family history. They're just. I spent most of my young childhood reading the different stories. There's books written about the family. And so it's just kind of neat that there's such a documented part of her family. So,
very cool. So needless to say,
mm-hmm.
she was most certainly all in. Her family was. She was raised in.
Yes.
So then your dad. So then it would be a requirement for your dad to convert, to get married, to do.
Pretty much, yeah. But he had discovered the church before her, so his interest in the church was pure and his. My stepmom was the bonus. He fell in love with an amazing young woman who, so you got to give credit where credit's due.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the history that I think comes along with it is
Mm-hmm.
really very interesting. And then when you find people that convert and are just as into it and just as accepting and want to live that same life, sorry. I just find it fascinating that you've decided, when people are born in and you don't know any different, and this has been generations of your life, and it's the way it is. It's a little bit more. It's easier for me to understand that than somebody just jumping in full feet
Mm-hmm.
and saying, okay, we're going to live this way. Our whole family is going to live this way. And this is how we're going to do it.
Nope, he was just a single young divorced man who found a new direction in his life.
Okay.
You know, if you think about it,
Yeah.
him and my mom were getting divorced. The judge made it 6 months longer than it needed to be. And so he was already on this new path that
He was
didn't
already looking for something new.
already doing what he did. And I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. It is really cool.
But yes, absolutely. His faith through the majority of through my childhood. Very active in his callings. I don't remember him and my stepmom ever going and doing temple work. The first time you go through, it's for your ordinances. After that, you're doing it for people who have died. And so I don't remember them doing that. But we had family home evening every week. We had morning prayer as a family, nighttime prayer as a family. We had, my stepmom was a stay-at-home mom for my childhood. So I had someone there when I came home. We made things from scratch. I mean, it was all my clothes were homemade. Very different than my younger sister, whose mom worked outside of the home. I mean, it's like we were raised by different parents. It's really strange.
Sure. Well, there was a huge age
12-year gap.
Right? Yeah.
But still, I kind of would, I don't know, with the church and that, I would have thought there would be a different influence, but it's so just amazing how time and people change.
Yeah.
Because
and time changes things.
Yeah. At some point, my dad quit going to church and quit having callings. And I still don't know exactly what all of that was about. And since he's passed on, I won't ever really know. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Those are things that he gets to, live with and not live with.
Right. That was part of his journey.
Yeah. So anyways, That's what it is about and there is an importance to it. It being sealed and having that eternal family and the opportunity to be together in the celestial kingdom and have your family with you. That was just a driving force for me ever since I discovered it was a possibility. As a little kid in primary, being told stories, just learning it, I wanted it. I wanted that.
Which part of it did you want?
I wanted the family. I wanted the forever family. I wanted to belong.
The promise that was given.
Belonging and the promise of it all. 8 years old and I wanted it and couldn't wait to get baptized. Could not wait.
So let's talk about that. So you were, it was time for you to be baptized, Mormon.
Mm-hmm.
And you were now living with your dad full time. Mm-hmm. So it was time for you to have your baptism. And so you go to find out.
I went to my primary teacher. There's a process. The second counselor in the primary talks to you and prepares you for your bishop interview. And then you have your baptismal interview. And then the second counselor in primary sets up the event. We pick the date, you pick your music, you have all, it's a big deal. It's a cool thing. And then you choose, choosing who's going to baptize you, who's going to confirm you a member. And I went to them and they didn't know what to do. And I didn't understand. And then a couple of weeks later, I get called into the bishop's office. And the bishop explains to me that because my dad was a convert and I'm not born under the covenant, I have to wait a year and have missionary lessons and be baptized after a year.
So
my little 8-year-old brain really broke.
It broke your heart.
Oh, it broke everything. I can't be a part of my forever family. What if I die in the next year? I'm in the age of accountability. I would never be with them. It tormented me. The possibilities of death and what the consequences would be for me. And that began an obsession in my brain with forever and the consequences If you
Was that
die and
ever?
you're not ready, you're not saved, you don't have what you need.
Did you ever have anxiety, like panic attacks about these kind of things, or were it just things you thought about and thought through?
It was when ever since I was probably 3 or 4, I developed a dissociative personality disorder. I I become, or it's not like a Sybil, or there's no fugue state, there's no amnesia. I just have the ability to
Step away.
become a role like a judge on TV.
Yeah,
You see your favorite, Harry Anderson from Night Court. When I would think of a judge, I would think of him, and I would behave in a kind of quirky, funny little way because that's what I associated that role with. And so most of my life was I would sort out the things that I didn't understand and fill in the gaps like that with TV, Disney, Little House on the Prairie, The
what
Waltons.
little pictures that you have picked up on the way
Yep.
of and
Situation,
feeling,
how they
yeah,
handled them, what they did. But it's all still in that kind of retro-y world of The Waltons, Little House on the Prairie.
right.
Uh,
Well, that goes back to like the age of perception and what we know, and all we know is the things that we pick up and we see, and that's where we're filling in those blanks with the things we see on TV, right? But those aren't reality
no, but they
either.
were for me. That's all. That when I was 7, it kind of began the bubble where I wasn't allowed friends that weren't Mormon. I wasn't. I could play with the JW kids in the front yard that lived 2 houses down. I don't understood why I could play with them, but nobody else. But I could. Weird little things like that. My 10th birthday, I did a scavenger party instead of a birthday party so I could invite her because they didn't do birthdays.
Right.
And so those are the kinds of things I understood. They don't do birthdays, but I want her at my birthday. So I renamed the party. It's a scavenger party. It's not a birthday party.
Right. Yeah.
And we made homemade ice cream. We made peppermint ice cream in a hand ice cream maker. And it was a gentle winter, so we had a scavenger hunt in the backyard. And I mean, they were told no presents on the invitations, no presents, because we didn't want her parents to even think that there was any shenanigans. And so that's just kind of me, 10-year-old kid wanting my friend to be able to do something.
To be able to fit in.
But not have it be a party, not be a
Right.
birthday. And so
Right.
at a young age, those are the types of things I would do. I would not go to parties at school because I'd sit with them in the principal's office because I didn't want them to feel lonely. So,
That's,
I mean, it wasn't a sacrifice to me, but other people viewed it as a sacrifice.
I understand. And I understand how that could not be a sacrifice. I could see how you would enjoy choosing to do that.
I fit in a lot better
Especially
with them
because,
than the other people at the party.
well, and you were, because you were always looking for, you yourself were always looking for that family or that place to belong or that belongingness. And
Yeah.
so you didn't want other people to feel
No,
left
not
out or like they
not if they
didn't
didn't
belong.
have to.
No.
So
Okay, so
then,
then
yeah.
you're 8 and you find out you can't have your baptism.
Oh,
You're so
yeah.
upset, but over the next year you have work to do, right?
Oh, I'm well, missionary lessons, they're at that point in time, they're like 10 lessons. You get them done in like 2 weeks. There's really not much to that. And so when it came down to the missionary lessons the month before my baptism, it felt kind of underwhelming. But I
One,
spent the year looking into all of the words, all the scriptures associated with being born under the covenant. Being, I wanted to
because then
understand
that became the obsession, is you wanted to know. Did you
everything.
feel left out that you were not born
Cheated,
under the covenant?
cheated. Why would God do this? Why would God make this? It made no sense to me. Why?
Because
Why? Yeah, the rule, the logistics, the fact that I saw no reason why I couldn't be baptized. I've been doing this since I was 3 years old. Why can't I not be baptized?
Right.
But you
But
can't. That's not the way
right.
it works.
Yeah. And you didn't understand,
No.
and you wouldn't at that time, right?
And my
Because
mother and my other family didn't have any concept of what was happening because, like most people, they didn't really understand the church. So
your
my
mother and
mother
your
might have,
stepfather.
if she had understood and knew more about it, might not have had me be baptized.
She may
So
have not allowed it.
yeah, she might have not allowed it if she actually had more information. But we didn't. We didn't, I didn't even really have the information until 4 years ago. But it was always there for me. I
Right.
just apologized it away and justified everything. And it all started then. I had to justify why they were doing this to me.
Why you couldn't get baptized right now. Why you
And
had to wait the year.
but it became, why are they doing it to me?
Right.
Not, it's just a standard, and that's just, you don't get a driver's license till you're 16.
Right.
Oh, unless you live on a farm. And then you can get it at 14. See, this is where my brain went. Why
Right.
can't
Yeah.
I be baptized?
Right. There's got to be a loophole for me somewhere.
There was no loophole.
Yeah. There's got to be a loophole for me.
And so I had to learn how to deal with anger and disappointment and feelings that I wasn't really allowed to have anyways, being female and being in the 70s. There were certain things that hadn't really started changing yet.
No.
And
No.
so I dealt with it. I mean, I didn't talk to my mom. I didn't talk to people. How would they understand?
Well, not only that, how do you as a child even start that conversation? That's a big, you don't
I
even know the feelings to open your mouth.
don't know the words to say. All I wanted to do was be baptized, and I was not listening to any of the reasons they were giving me.
Well,
I
nothing.
heard them all, but it's like,
Right.
I don't care.
Right. It's not good enough. I
No.
am 8 years old and I want what I want and I
And I
want it.
believe and I want, and I've studied and I read the scriptures and I'm ready. I'm like, I'm more ready than this yo-yo who was born under the covenant. What are you talking about?
Right. Right. Like I earned it. So
Yeah.
over the year you were bitter and maybe even longer than that, right?
Oh, yep. No,
But
I got my actual baptism date because I found it.
yeah, I wanted to talk about that.
I was baptized on May 4th, 1974. And I was in, I think I was in the Marston, was it in Marston Lake Ward? I came in and out of Marston Lake Ward several times over in the Federal Bellevue area in Colorado. I've lived in that ward like 4 different times in my life. It's kind of cool. Denver 8th Ward, North Denver State.
So what does the baptism entail for a Mormon baptism?
The baptism, you have this like
9 years
white
old.
kind of jumpsuit that you wear. And it's the same as someone who's 8. There's a program. You pick a song about baptism and the song about confirmation, and you get to pick, because it's your baptism, who's
Right.
doing the prayer, who's doing the little talk about baptism and confirmation. And because I'm a convert, normally it's the missionaries that do that. And so I had the missionaries do it. And yeah, your friends and family are there. It's actually a little bit more of a show being the convert baptism versus the 8-year-old baptism.
Yes.
There was a little bit more focus on you because it's not just, oh, you turned 8, the next month you get baptized.
Right.
So that made it kind of worth it. It was like, oh,
A little bit more of a show.
I didn't have to share it with 5 other kids turning 8 in Jan.
Right. This was just your own.
It was just my own. And then you go into the water, and then it's an ordinance, so it's exact words, and they say their name and that they're baptizing you in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost. And then they They baptize you. You have to go completely under. If any part of you bounces up, they do it all again. And I have seen it done 6 times to get someone baptized because their foot kept coming up. They finally put his leg in front of her foot so it didn't go all the way up. And that's it. You get baptized. You go, you dry off. And then the next day at church, you get confirmed. And your confirmation is what makes you a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I'm blessed because my stepmom knows stenography. She knew Greg stenography because you don't have audio or video of these events. And
No.
so I have my confirmation that she typed out for me. And so I'm going to share with you what my confirmation was.
Okay.
Kim D. Liberton. By the power and authority of the Holy Melchizedek priesthood, I confirm you a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and say to you, receive the Holy Ghost. I give you a blessing that the knowledge that you already have may continue throughout your life, that you will remain faithful to the teachings of the Church, that you will seek out truthfulness and live it, that your parents may support you and provide examples in knowledge and strengthen your testimony with a desire to be married in the temple, that you may gain a testimony, and you will do this regardless of circumstances. Bless you with the ability to be a good example to your brothers and sister, that they can be strengthened by your actions and testimony. So there you go. I didn't have a sister yet. That was but brothers and sister, I only had brothers at that point. My sister was born a few years later.
Refer to the community as a whole?
Yeah, that was, my future siblings is what that was referring to, even though I didn't have a sister yet. And so, and as you can tell, I pretty much memorized most of it a long time ago and took it to heart. This is my blessing and my confirmation. These are the words that my dad was revealed to him to give to me, to guide me. And
how did you feel about it? How did you feel about what was being said to you, what you were saying?
It was worth the wait. It was all worth the wait. Oh my goodness, I felt so welcomed and special and chosen because I wasn't born into it. I chose it. I had an opportunity and I took it. I had an opportunity and I took it. And that's what you're taught to do, and then you're a member missionary, and I really dug that being, the church had the I'm a Mormon campaign in the 70s. And now they don't like being called Mormon. But like I said, I will continue to call them that. They spent too much money on me. And I wasn't a Utah Mormon. See, I'm better than Utah. We are mission field Mormons. We live outside of Utah. So there's all kinds of dynamics with my baptism and where and how that set up this dynamic even within the church. Because I'm a convert of a convert. I mean, am I second gen or am I convert? I'm still second gen. I decided that.
Yeah, I guess you would be. I mean, considering I would consider you second gen, considering how young.
Mm-hmm. And kids can't consent. The types of things I agreed to and wholeheartedly embraced and did. No, those were not decisions that I should have been made or should have been making at all at 9 years old.
Yes, that's exactly what I was asking. As beautiful as what you read was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a beautiful, but do you know what you're committing to, what you are truthfully saying at that age? It's just impossible. I think it's just not even truthfully possible.
And the standard, even reading in it, the built-in, and remember, my dad's batshit crazy, so the man builds in things, and there's built-in things to parlay off of later.
That will fit his narrative.
That are in here, that were parlayed into other things that kept me coming back and kept me it's insidious. It's
It's
just
an indoctrination,
it is.
and
It
he
oh
was helping with that. And I think with some of the things that we've talked about, maybe as we talk about your dad more as we go too, um,
and
we'll
he
learn.
wanted that. He wanted that family. He remember he's got this new family, this new thing. He wanted me to be baptized. He wanted me to be a part of this forever family.
Well, he truthfully believed in it,
Mm-hmm.
right? He truthfully believed that it was the best thing. It,
To
it
live,
was
yes,
it
absolutely.
was a protection for you,
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways, right? At the time. So it's really hard. No, kids cannot consent. No, you didn't know what you were saying, just like I had no idea what I was saying in my first communion, right? Like those kind of things. It's you're just saying what you're told to say, and you think you're believing it, and you want, and like you said, you were so excited to feel special,
Mm-hmm. To belong, to
to belong,
belong.
and to feel special and to feel like, okay, I finally have made it here.
Yep.
So now you're 9, 10-ish,
Yep.
and are you living the life of a young Mormon girl?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I learned to cook and sew, and I learned my house, everything, to be a good wife and mother. I learned I was when I we when we all learned more about crochet. I had already been crocheting, but we were allowed to crochet during church as long as we waited till after sacrament. We were actually encouraged to do it, and it's so funny because they would never do that now. But we were
Right.
encouraged. Um,
You could just sit there and
my mom moved when I was 10. Like I said, I saw her once when I was 12, and then when I was 14 and moved there. So from the time I was 10 on, I was a captive audience. I was under my dad's protection, guardianship. He's my parent. He's the one I'm living with.
right.
He's the responsible party. And I was, like I said, I wasn't allowed to be friends with people. And
Were you involved in any of the child activities through the church?
at church, yes, but I wanted to be involved with school things. I wanted, um, there was a cheerleader next door. I wanted to do things like that, but oh my gosh, could never, can't wear a cheerleading outfit. There were things that, so I was in band. I started playing band when I was 9, tenor alto saxophone. I was practicing when two of my younger brothers were born, 9 days short of a year apart. And I clearly remember, what I was playing when mom left to go to the hospital.
Oh, well, it's funny.
And so, but this is where I lived at Federal and Bellevue in Sheridan or Inglewood on Shenango. And I went to Sheridan Middle School and Ora Oliver Elementary School, which is now Fort Logan Child Development. But this was at this point, for 5 years, I lived in one spot. And so that didn't happen again until 14 to 19 when I lived in northern Minnesota. So this
Okay, so
sets up,
10
yep, 10 to 14, 9 to 14, I lived in one home, one
with your
house,
dad.
one family. And not only did those normal controls at school, because, not being friendly with people who aren't members, but my dad was my Sunday school teacher. And every year he moved up when I moved up. So 3 years in a row, my father was my Sunday school teacher. So for the majority of that 4-year period of time, the only information outside of the public education was my father. religious,
That's just not
everything.
fun.
No, that and he set it up. He like I said, limited the contact with my mom. He limited all the sources of information that I could have available. But yet I still went to the public library. I still did all these things, but I self-policed. There's things I would never look at or read or do because you don't do that. You don't look at anti-Mormon literature. You don't have these types of conversations. You don't, and I didn't. I
Why
wouldn't look
didn't
into
you?
that
You
stuff.
just knew better?
Oh, yeah, no, when you self-police, the same way I wouldn't, yeah, no, you just,
You
why
just
would I do that? I'm not, that's just someone telling lies. Why would I look at lies? Garbage in is garbage out. You're not going to put garbage in my mind. I'm going to let them keep shoveling whatever garbage they're putting in.
right.
And it's not
I don't
garbage.
have room for external
I
garbage.
correct myself. It's not garbage.
No,
Because
but
I
I
truly believed I was the problem, not the church. It was all me until it wasn't.
well, okay, so that's you're staying with your dad
Yeah.
and then till you're 14.
Mm-hmm.
And then at 14,
In eighth grade, there was stuff changing in EPA, and so he moved to New Mexico to do noise control there. And so I spent the first 8 weeks in Blanding, Utah, at my grandma's, going to school while they bought the house in Santa Fe, and then I moved. My brother Jeremy and I then moved to Santa Fe, and so I was at Young Junior High School in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I was a minority Mormon white girl in a very highly Hispanic junior high. Lots of
community.
Catholics.
And so that you were living with your dad then.
Mm-hmm.
And how old were you then?
I was 13.
13.
Yep.
Okay. And
And
so
that was
how
the
long were
year.
you there? For a year?
It was the end of that summer when I went to Minnesota to live. So the first 8 weeks of eighth grade, I was in Utah, and the rest of it, I was in Santa Fe. And then I moved and didn't return to living with my family until long as an adult.
Okay. So now you're
I'm having new experiences. I'm not in the bubble of Colorado that the narrative and everything was controlled. Now I'm having, and I'm growing up, I have different
right. You're
friends. I had invited this boy over who was in choir because he liked Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass Band, and my dad had the Whipped Cream album. And so I invited him over. My mom had the kids at primary. I didn't go to primary anymore, so mine was a different night. And I knew I wasn't doing anything sneaky.
right.
I had invited him over just before at the same time she would have gotten home, but she was running late. And so we were there, we had an album out, and oh my goodness, it took me years to figure out that it wasn't the fact I had a boy in the house and was alone. I didn't know what it was, but he was gay. And very obviously,
the boy was
like a flamer gay, but I had no
right.
concept of these things. I looked at people like they're people. I don't look at
Right.
them
Yeah.
sexuality in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
And it dawned on me way later when I couldn't figure out why they were so upset. And yeah, now I know. But that was the beginning of nobody would explain things to me. Nobody would tell me anything. It was just, you're not allowed people here. You broke the rule.
So now it is, people are telling you, Kim, you're the problem,
yes.
But we're not going to tell you why.
Exactly. But you got to fix it because you're the problem.
Right. Yeah. You better figure it out, but nobody's going to help you
and then
tell you
towards the end of that year, I knew I had a D on my report card, and my dad had told me if I had anything less than C's, he wouldn't let me go to Minnesota
with your mom
for the summer to spend the summer with my mom. So I stole the plane ticket, and I made an arrangement with my choir instructor, Mr. Barber, and he was going to hide me out and make sure I got to the airport. He died of cancer about a decade ago, but he was prepared to do whatever it took to get me out of there because I was miserable. I was a miserable child, and I did not understand why. And decades later, I got this box from my stepmom with a bunch of stuff in it. And on the top was a letter from when I was 13 my mom had sent, that she set up therapy for me and all this stuff. And they just need to make the phone call. And seeing that letter as a 55 plus person going, I was right. It wasn't me. There were, she was doing everything she could. And it just all fell into place. And
that's something you didn't know that she was doing
no, I
while you
didn't
were
know.
there.
And this was, like I said, this was like a year and a half before her aneurysm. So it was even more poignant a few years ago to find this letter that she wrote, because it's like, whoa, this was her before.
She can't. Right.
Before,
and we've
she couldn't
talked
remember.
about that. Yeah.
So it
That
was like, whoa.
She couldn't remember to tell you this.
Well, she wouldn't know.
Right.
Yeah.
That she had tried to do all these things.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a gift, Kim, when you find these.
Belated gift, but definitely a
yes,
gift.
For sure. For sure.
And it put together all the pieces. It filled in that gap. I was so desperate to get out of a place, and I didn't know why. I didn't understand why. I just had to leave. And it was all kinds of pressures being put on me in all different kinds of ways. And I just felt trapped. I can't make friends. I can't do this. But no one really explaining to me why I can't. It's just, you can't.
Right.
And
you wanted to so badly.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted to so badly.
And you get in trouble and you don't know why. You can't live that way forever, especially as a child.
No. And I think, I feel, we were talking about you from very young. You wanted the feeling of the family.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted to feel of the family of you belong. And I get the sense that you wanted that the friendships, the feeling, the friendships and the belonging and the having buddies and people to hang out with and doing the things.
I didn't care what church they went to. I didn't care what they did or didn't do. I just liked people.
Right. What they looked like, who they liked, any of it.
And I wasn't understanding why so many restrictions you are put on. And I put similar restrictions on my daughter in different ways. Absolutely. She wasn't allowed to talk to anybody on the phone without asking for permission first, who she was calling and why, until she was 13. Yeah, almost 14. So
then when she was 14, she could call.
Oh no, when she was, she wasn't quite 14, so she was still 13. My third husband, he said, his daughter's 3 days older than my daughter. And he's like, why are you doing this? That's like insane. And he's like, you don't need to do this. So to make him happy, I stopped doing it. And my daughter was very happy. I was not really happy with giving in, but I understand now that it was a much better way for her to live. And I'm glad he encouraged me to do that.
Yeah. But at the time, it was still instilled in you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That, no, we live this way. We don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We do.
And I was inactive at that time.
But it still was in your...
Mm-hmm. It all just goes to it.
Yeah. So even though you were inactive and you weren't going to church, there were still things that you were doing every day in your everyday life.
It's just so in skill. It's just in you. It's more than parenting. That's where indoctrination comes in, because it is more than parenting. You're actually instilling different thought process, tools, and things that might not be needed for that individual. And right. It's just there are conflicts in things with high demand religions. It's just that's not As an adult, go for it, but do it if you don't want kids.
Right. Well, oftentimes in high demand religions and coercive groups, like where you're expected to behave
Mm-hmm.
and look and present a certain way all the time, and everybody is across the board. There should be there's no difference. There's no room for wavering. You all just everyone needs to be the same.
Yeah. And
Follow the same rules.
my situation was never, ever close to the same at all.
Well, and that's
Nobody I knew was divorced. Even when I was in high school, there were like nobody had divorced parents. It's just, I don't know. There wasn't a lot of divorce in the
right.
60s. There just wasn't.
No, there wasn't. And really, the 60s and 70s, I think the 80s is when the
Yep.
70s and 80s, like late 70s and 80s
Early
was kind
80s.
of,
Yes.
yeah,
Women were
everybody
able to
was,
get their own credit cards and banks accounts, and they
yeah,
took off and did their own thing.
yeah,
That's what happened.
yeah.
They finally
There,
could control their own money and took advantage of that. And they didn't have that opportunity till almost 1977.
yeah,
It's
I
like
know.
the world that you and there's so many of us that have lived and seen all of this change and tried to fit all of this in within a religious structure. There's so much more demands as time went on that
And
started then.
let, let me ask you this. And you say in a religious structure,
Mm-hmm.
but also in this religious structure, women are still perceived to stay home,
Yes.
raise the children, have babies, not have a voice,
Only get an education for backup.
right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you have to have a job, it's going to be on the quiet and it's going to be something that nobody knows you do, right?
Oh, people do all kinds of simple stuff, different things, but absolutely.
Yeah.
And so those that's all I ever was taught and wanted to be. And then here I am, like I said, unfortunately, my mom's aneurysm derailed a lot of direction in my life because I wasn't able to tap into this independent woman. Instead, I had this stranger instead, and I just didn't make the connections until now, which is yay to know that, you know.
Well, yes, and I'm very thankful that you've been able to make the connections now and are understanding your mom so much more. Probably, I think
Oh,
from what I'm hearing, than you ever have in your life.
oh yeah.
You,
The
you
older I
know,
get.
yeah, and more understanding, more grace, more understanding of how detrimental her aneurysm truthfully was to her,
Yes.
to not be able to give you answer. It's really tough as a kid to
Well, how
have the
many?
same person sitting here that had the answers that now doesn't have the answers. I don't
It,
think you can understand
and
it.
how many times have a lot of us gone, gosh, I wish I could just wake up and have no memory. I wish I could just wake up and it like 51st dates. I wish I could wake up and it's just not there.
Yeah.
To recognize someone else's acceptance of that type of situation, accepting with a grace and an understanding, being able to draw on that is what helps me the most now, is being able to give myself grace for
Yes.
things I don't understand any more than she did. And
Right.
so it's a whole different context, but it's
Yeah.
that same thing. So I'm constantly learning and growing from all these people around me. And I'm just grateful. I mean, that
It's almost like seeing them through new eyes.
I what I tell people is, another chunk of Mormon fell out of my brain. And as these chunks fall off, because it didn't go away overnight, it's falling off in chunks. I didn't wake up one day going, oh, this is BS. Let's have a new life. It's
Oh, no, no.
bits and pieces, and then a new understanding of the world around me. So I'm like a little kid going, oh, this is cool. And then things get scary. And then I go see my therapist every other week, and things are a little more understanding. And coming in this format is a whole nother type of healing and growth, to be able to express these things in a outside of my head.
Yes.
Because in my head it doesn't always make sense, and I'm discovering when I put it out there it makes perfect sense.
Yes.
So that lets me know, got some more work to do on the brain. It's okay, I'll get there.
Oh, yeah. I always look at things like the brain, like it files. There's the years of files, or the situations, or the relationships with people. Like each one has a file folder, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes the papers get in the wrong file folders, or they fall out. You know what I'm saying? They're all over
The McDonald's are with the M's, and we know that's not where they belong.
Yes, yes. And it's just like,
It's just
what
simple.
happened to my file folder? Yeah, and so sometimes you can take it back out.
Yeah.
Let's look at it again. Let's see if we can get rid of even any of these pieces of paper, right? Some of these pages don't need to be in here anymore.
Yes. And that's mainly what a lot of this is about, is just being able to break it down in just a little bit. When you've lived a big life, and this set the stage for so many decisions down the road, that by knowing this, you'll understand why certain choices were made. Because without knowing this amount of detail about my beginning, if I tell you the things, yeah, it just gets strange after
that
this.
come next.
It just keeps getting stranger. And even now, it doesn't stop. And that's the thing that keeps me going, is I got a little bit of the crazy in the world. It's all okay. It keeps things very interesting for me. And I'm looking forward to, I think, 70 and on, maybe slowing down a little on some things and just doing a different life. But for the next 10 years, I want to embrace this new brain and have these new experiences. Absolutely. And so it's kind of exciting to just be able to pace it all out. We're not in any rush here. There's a lot of complex things that went on in these time frames. We're now starting to get into the beginning of the 80s, where AIDS comes into play.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of things within the church that they continue to do, with things concerning homosexuality, Prop 8, all these different things they've tried to stop legally. And so you start getting into all different concepts when you're this teenager exploring a world and still in a bubble. And so that's what we get into a little bit next, because every choice I made during my inactivity was confessed to when I went active again, and I was disfellowshipped for, and I had consequences for, every single time. Not knowing I'm the one who's giving all the information. And if I had just been able to live with a life and say whatever, I probably wouldn't have even told anybody. So I drank coffee. So I did this. But oh no, I laid it all out for my new bishop.
But you kept telling me on yourself.
Yep. Oh, yes. Very good at self-policing. Absolutely.
But do you think that was, did you want to get better?
Religiosity, strict sense of truthfulness concerning religious things. I even though I did it, even though it's wrong, I had to own up to it. I had to be truthful, especially to my bishop. If I wasn't paying tithing, I had to be truthful. I had to do these things. Not realizing not everybody's truthful in those interviews. Some people lie.
Yes, but nobody else knows that, right?
I don't even think about lying. That would not be an option. Are you kidding me?
Right. Everybody thinks.
If I now, the sad part, this is the scary part. And this is, the scary part is now. when I feel the pull of community, when I feel the pull of familiarity, I wonder if I could lie. I wonder if I could go back and do and be and have it all and just lie. That's the scary part that goes on in my head now. I wonder, could I do that? I don't believe it, but could I do that for the familiarity, for the comfort that I don't have yet in this new world I'm living in?
Right.
That's where the pull is. That's what I still experience even now.
Well, I mean, I don't think you have to lie. That's
Well, I
the,
would. I'd have to lie to my bishop to get a temple recommend because I drink coffee, because I, have
oh,
menstrual
now, if you
marijuana.
wanted to go
See?
back
If I
now,
wanted to go
like,
back now, see, I'm telling you now, I still have those thoughts and feelings. I have that
well,
pull. And I wonder, I know people who lie. Could I lie?
could you?
And
But
then, but now I don't believe, but yet my brain still goes there. It still goes there going, oh, I could
sure,
lie.
because
I could have it all.
it's
But what am I
so it,
having?
right. And you also are more authentic of a person, I believe. I think it would eat you up.
It would. And that's where everything destroyed me. My inactivity was me trying to break out of the bubble, but all of the internal tracks and judgments would
That
bring me.
you're trying to face yourself within yourself.
I didn't have an authentic self. I'm an emerging identity now. I had what the church gave me: wife, mother, crafts, being a Molly Mormon, doing all of everything.
Doing what
But
you tell me to do.
but outside of that, there was no me.
Yeah.
I realized all the things I loved about the church were all the things I did with my callings that were things not there before I did them. So it made it easier for me to realize I can do what I want anywhere. And that
It was just showing you, putting you in situations where, look, you can overcome this, Kim.
my pull that I feel is the familiarity of the successes that you feel and can have within those environments, and not feeling those same successes in the outside world. You feel the pull. You feel the pull. You want, it's like, I could be this. I know this. And I know this other thing. Can my brain reconcile it now? Why should I even think that way? Because that's the way I've always thought. I've always had that cognitive dissonance. Now my brain's trying to make it go in reverse.
Right. When you don't need to think about it at all.
No, and that's what's happening now, is sharing up to age 10 to understand this was my beginning. This was all I had to work with. And then I was isolated for 4 years from everything. Every support system that had been created for me was gone. And those years were what I was breaking free from. But that familiarity, all of the indoctrinations, what kept coming back. It kept me coming back. And now I'm not going back. There is only going forward. We're breaking all the generational curses. Myself, my sister, my niece, and my daughter. We are not doing all these things. And my niece is an active member and a very amazing human being. And I wouldn't want her to change her faith. And she understands us for our belief. And that's the way it's supposed to be, not the way my family
Yes.
treated me. And so this is the difference. The four of us are breaking all of it
Yes.
here
We
and
can
now.
do it. We can still do it together
Yes.
without having to do it the
We
same.
can be four single, independent women who have been divorced and all had our own experiences with our membership in this church.
Yes. Yes.
And we are now doing many things and supporting each other.
I love it.
And you can't trade that in. It's just unbelievable to have that.
No, and now it's a family. The four of you
Mm-hmm.
have created a family that you've been looking for your whole life. Just people that accept you,
Yes.
love you, support you.
Give me a
Just
little grace because I don't always understand things. I'm still breaking into this world. I'll only use that for about 2 more years because I'm pretty sure after 2 years I'll have it covered. But right now, no, no. And then don't even get me started on understanding things in the political structures. That
oh
all
yeah,
overwhelms me.
yes.
And so, yeah, that's the thing I do. I do ask for a little bit of grace. And I think it's important that I'm able to recognize I need it.
I think
I
it's
and I can ask for it. And
yeah.
it's not an excuse. It's give me just a little grace. That's all I ask. Just tiny. If I don't mind
Well,
my P's and Q's, knock me down, of course, but give me a little grace.
I think into the asking questions, you have just a thirst for knowledge and
Mhm.
curiosity.
We'll put up
That just
Debbie's message. I think I can do that, or is it just you?
I think you should be able to.
Uh, no,
Can
it's
you?
not letting me click on it. Debbie Burkhart Curry.
Let's see. We can go through the messages too.
Yeah. This is my aunt. And
Oh,
I love the fact that she says, my conscience wouldn't allow me to do that. You're right. It
yeah.
wouldn't. But the thoughts are still there. The thoughts are still there. The wanting, the needing, those things are still there. But I now know I can redirect it. I
Right,
can,
and you're
yep,
learning.
I can redirect it. But no, and I have the people in my corner that say, yeah, no, I don't, yeah, no, that won't happen.
Right. Or I think your sister too.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
liking getting to know your sister, yeah. But is gonna be like Kim, 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 Kim,
Oh, yeah, no, no.
Kim.
No.
Yeah.
No, I do
What's your
get parented by my sister and my daughter a lot, and I'm grateful for it because they have different connections to the real world because they didn't believe. They were 12 years old and figured it all out, and they just went through the motions. And so they don't have the same struggles I do.
right.
And they weren't aware of how deeply all of this was for me until the past few years. My daughter knew,
Of
but my sister really didn't know how deeply I believed. And so I've got an amazing support system that you can't trade it. It's just awesome. But I had to
no.
be willing to open up to even let them know because they didn't
Yes.
know.
Yeah. Yeah, and that you all do. You all have to be willing to talk to each other. And some of those conversations may be hard.
Yep.
I would imagine that some of them are hard.
Oh,
Do
you're
you want to
afraid to
go
be
down
judged.
and
Yeah, go check some things out and say hello to some people here.
if you guys have any questions or anything you want
Yeah.
to say hey.
Any blanks to fill in? We can do that
Yes.
too. Oh, and I did want to correct. My stepfather wasn't in Germany during Vietnam. He was in Thailand. And that's where we got all the Japanese dolls and stuff. My mom sent me a text. That's the only thing I got wrong. And it's like, oh, that's right. It was Thailand.
Yeah, because
Amazing
yesterday we
dolls.
were talking about that.
Yeah, it's like, but
And
that's pretty good. I only got that one detail wrong.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think you're doing amazing. Your memory is so awesome. And I'm loving we're kind of going down the memory lane of the years.
yes.
And it's kind of fun and I know that we've had some fun backstage talking about, do you remember this? Do you remember that? Like things from when we were young.
Mm-hmm. And it's fun to share those moments with the audience also, because the life that I still live in my head is one I am kind of stuck in the 80s. I love cotton candy makeup. It was a different lifestyle for me, and it was the beginning of me in the world. So it's got a whole different focus.
Yes. Well, it was the beginning of this is interesting because it's kind of the beginning of you for the first time in the world. But
Yeah.
there's different times of Kim in the world, new
So
Kim.
my high school friends that, they all knew each other since kindergarten. So I was still the new kid when I graduated. And
Right.
so I didn't feel like I belonged until my 10th high school reunion when we finally were talking about high school. So, but
10
this is
years later.
well, they talked about grade school in the 5th year one. So,
Right.
but to be able to be a part of that. I never felt like I belonged, but I was, and I am. And they never made me feel like I wasn't. That was a me thing. And the people and friendships that I have, and that's why returning here after 30 years to the Iron Range in Minnesota, it's because of that experience and the imprint, for
Yeah,
lack of a better word,
yeah,
that this community put on me between ages 14 and 19. It has imprinted on my soul because it saved me.
yeah.
And so,
Well, and you're very proud of your town, and you're very proud of your
oh,
state and all of that stuff, and you are a big part of your town.
I'm
You're a
working
big
on it.
member. Yeah, you're a big member of your community. You're getting there.
Oh, wanting too much. Your story is fascinating. I know how it feels to feel like I'm the problem. It explains so much. Wanting to mingle, but not letting anyone get too close. Nope. It's hard. If
Yeah,
you get too close, you might have to, I don't know. I was always afraid I'd say something I shouldn't, or I don't know.
you'd
I was
see
always
the
afraid
real
I'd
me,
cross. Yeah.
and
You
I'm
could.
weird.
Yeah. Well, I was, and I am, and it's okay.
Well, that's the
That's the
beauty of
beautiful
things.
part. It
Yeah,
is okay. It always was. I just
yeah.
didn't know it.
And those are things we realize as we age, right? Being different
Mhm.
is fine. Everybody is different. Nobody is the same.
No.
Cute. Life of siblings. So, hello, dear. How are you?
Yay.
These are your people.
Yep. I have lots of people in Bangladesh, Nepal, and India with
Oh,
my
very
Facebook
cool.
followings. And so I'm learning different um, languages through watching their reels and stuff.
Oh,
There's just
cool.
their normal life. And so I'm we ask lots of questions, and so it's kind of cool. So that's what
That is
some of
cool.
my Facebook people, it's a bigger world out there, people. There's a lot to enjoy.
They're most certainly. Hi,
Hey,
Whitney,
Liz.
our little sweetheart. I'm always so happy to see her.
I know. Yes. Thank
Oh,
you,
we
Ed.
did, Debbie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Hi,
Hey,
Brandy.
Brandy. Oh, I
Haven't
like her
seen.
hair.
I know. I haven't seen her in a
I
while.
know. Hair looks great.
I
Oh,
know.
ahoy, ahoy.
Seven. How are you feeling, honey? How are you feeling?
Yes.
Opening up is the hardest part.
And I've opened up to different people, and it wasn't that they were the wrong person to open up to. It was either the not the right time, place. You can't always put your setbacks and make them be the be all. And that's what I've done also, is I've let those setbacks be the be all to keep me from trying again with the outside world.
Sure. Well, it's very scary when you're afraid to come out at all. And
Mm-hmm.
when you come out, you're punished, condemned, you didn't do it right. So it's like, well, crap, I'm not gonna,
Yeah. I'm not going to risk that.
I'm not gonna try it again. Screw that,
No.
you know. That is tough. Brandy, we are telling Kim's story. We're doing it over a series, and which it's just been such a blast. Uh,
I've had a big life, and a big part of it was the Mormon church. And then a lot of it led to things like my obesity, ending up 303 pounds because I couldn't have more kids. And the feeling of being pregnant was what I was doing. And then later in 98, had gastric bypass surgery. And before it was laparoscopic, I have the full zipper scar. And so all of these things that happened, all of them go back to these thought processes and these things that were given to me by the church, some positive and amazing and some not so amazing. And that's kind of what we're doing, is it'll move forward as I get older into understanding the different life choices. Not that I woulda, coulda, shoulda made different ones, but just an understanding for other people. Maybe give some other people a little grace too. There are people with big lives like mine. So
Yes.
that's what we're
Well,
doing. We're just sharing a big life.
yeah. And it's been a lot of fun unpacking it. And I'm looking forward to,
Oh, story time gets fun.
yeah, doing more and more and more.
The pick a subject and I'll tell you a story. Okay, what do you want?
I am, honey. Heaven's Fire says,
Oh my
Soraya.
goodness. Okay. These she is amazing. So this little girl and they were at the bus stop. This is when I first had guardianship of my grandson when he was 9. He's now almost 17. And so we were at the bus stop and she was scrolling to help me with kids events for my business. And there was this artist painting that came across. I go, wait a minute, what was that? And her name's Catlin, and I'm on a Patreon, and I get art things from her, and that's how I got into a different art community and made different friends down in that because it was a friend or family member of hers. So I've been watching her daughter just grow up these past 5 years and 6 years because we met at the little bus stop for the school.
Cute.
And I would see her every morning, and it's one of those, like I said, connections that you can have up here in this community where it's just amazing. And I have not seen her since I moved and got into my house and whatnot, but yet we're still apart.
Yeah,
We're still a part of things, and that's technology, and that's a different understanding of friendship and
it
people
is.
that she's amazing. I mean, just amazing. I've
And
just
she
watched that
says,
little girl grow. She's just, oh yeah, it's 13 now. 10 17. It's like he's 6'2". And
Aw.
the joy of a smaller community. We got 16,000 people in Hibbing. And so you actually can have more long-term wonderful relationships, and that's the cool part.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's true.
Now we're 4 blocks apart. She's on 29th and 5th, and I'm at 27th and 3rd. So,
That's so nice. And it's nice to know people in your community, to have people around in your community.
yeah.
Um, I know you guys had a soldier come home. I don't want to mess this up, and I'm going to because I don't remember. But you guys did you have a firefighter come home?
That was the hockey player,
Or
Adam
the
Johnson,
hockey player?
that was killed in England, the ice skate to the neck
Yes.
year. Yeah, that was what we had.
Okay. I'm so sorry.
He
I
was
knew it
a
was.
graduate of Hibbing High School before he went on with his professional hockey career. And so it
And,
was very sad.
and then he came back home to Hibbing, correct?
Well, when they buried him here, but we've got a lot of different famous people from Hibbing. You know, Bob Dylan, Gary Puckett. There's just a multitude of amazing energy from this place.
I
Coffee
love
doesn't
it.
take you long to put on. Sounds good.
I love that. I think my house may be a mess, but coffee doesn't take long to put on. I love
That
that.
is great. So yeah,
I
no, being up here in Hibbing, it's just different. We have, I don't know, I it's a different type of community, and that's what I want to continue sharing. Um, all the amazing little things that
Yeah, yeah.
anybody else could come and think it's crappy or yucky, but you know,
Hey, it's home,
I think it's
and
beautiful, and if you don't like it, well, work with me to change it.
yeah,
And that's what I want to do. Um, just keep changing my life along with everybody else. And I because of what I was raised, I have a utopian perspective of the world. I like bartering. I would love a way with no money. There's certain lifestyles that, and it is that utopian kind of way. And a lot of it is more fundamental Mormon, which is what my stepmother's family was fundamental, which, of course, includes polygamy. So
Right.
it's different, but a lot of that ties into that utopian way of lifestyle because they were creating this utopian society,
Right.
and I can't stop that. It's no matter how hard I try, it's hard for me to be selfish and take care of me first. I want to take care of the world. I want to solve the world's problems. And I'm learning. Take care of
Yes.
me. Oxygen mask on me first.
Yes.
Uh,
Put yours
don't
on before somebody else's.
I
And
don't
I'm
need to
glad,
have a bunch of clothes for other people. Just have what you need.
yeah. And I'm glad to see that you're finally doing that. I really am.
Little by little, but it's hard. It's very hard to actually turn any of it off. And I don't think I really want to. I kind of like having that utopian viewpoint of the world. It kind of gives me hope that, I keep finding all my little tribe that loves what, we barter
Yeah.
stuff all the time. We don't need that much money.
I think you're, becoming a millionaire
Oh yeah, my
one
little
step at a time.
one step of, I want to have $1 million in assets for my 60th birthday, and that's in January. So it's not about accomplishing the goal. It's about dreaming big, and whatever happens is success.
Yeah.
And that's the only way I can operate, because too many letdowns, too many setbacks. I can't do planning the way I was taught, like smart planning and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't work for me because any setback can send me reeling.
Right.
And I have to learn. Setbacks happen. The real world, it's not the end of the world.
Right. You
Whereas
just
my religious world of setback can be the end of your world.
right. Yeah.
So it's neat. Oh,
I'm very excited.
yes, utopia for all. Not no, men aren't allowed. It's a different kind of utopia. We're not jaded. We're not jaded women. We just, if you have a penis, you can make your own way in the world.
Right. You can figure it out.
We're like, you can come visit if there are those so inclined that want their visitors. But it's kind of like there's a homeless community, and I think it's outside of New York. And it is, there's one in Africa. It's modeled after that. It's women only. There are male children, but when the males come of a certain age, they have to go to a different village and start their families. They get to come visit, but it's, and it's to keep them safe, because there's so much terrible things that happens to a lot of women in these countries.
Sure.
And they're making it work. And it's been there 22 years in Africa, and I think 7 in New York. They moved some people over. And so that is also crossing different bridges, bringing some of these people a different technology and a different world they didn't have over there. And so I like getting involved in those geeky kind of fun things because it's just different.
Oh, yes. I mean, there's so many opportunities to go over to different countries and educate women and men both on sexual health and well-being, just because there has not been.
Get them all the internet.
Yeah.
They need the internet. They don't have to come to America to live. We can get them the internet there, and they can change their lives. That's my kind of viewpoint. Yeah. Currently on immigration and whatnot. Let's get you the internet and your own resources, and let's better use our own. That's my beginning of politics. How's that?
You're figuring it out. You say you're figuring it out.
That for me, it's an understanding, a beginning way to learn and have the conversations. And I'm only bringing this up because it's an election year here, and it's all wackadoodle city everywhere. And I can't escape it. So I'm at least attempting to understand verbiage, left, right, blah, 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 at least knowing what's being talked about.
Sure.
And And it's not an easy subject to learn at all.
I think there's a lot of things to learn within that one subject, which is difficult, and it's very, it's always changing. So yeah, it is
That is
difficult.
what I'm discovering. It's always changing, which is very different than a lot of the high demand religions that really don't have lots of change.
Yeah, they don't want change, right? They don't want
No.
any change.
So it's new concepts of time and process. And so everybody, I don't know, we all work in a different way. And I don't know, we'll all have fun and we'll all get there sooner or later.
Well, yeah, I mean, it just, we learn, we live and we learn, hopefully. And I'm excited for you to have a new start.
Yeah.
And like what it says, more knowledge is never bad, and it's just
No.
more knowledge of things that you can get into, that you can
And
do.
it's ironic because that's the one thing I was always taught, is that I was raised that we believe that the only thing you take with you into the next life is knowledge. Your body, you'll have a new body, you'll have an immortal body, you'll have a celestial body, but you take your knowledge with you. And so ever since I was little, knowledge. I want all of it because I get to take it with me.
Knowledge is power.
I'm learning that. But
Yeah.
for right now, knowledge gave me my forever. It gave me the desire to learn everything, to take it with me. Now I'm understanding its power.
Yeah.
And I have a great memory, so this could be interesting.
Yes, you really do. You really do.
Oh, thank you.
You really do. And I'm glad. I'm glad. This has been so much fun.
Oh, wow. Good time to get going. Love it.
Are you ready to go? You want to keep talking?
We can keep talking.
So you played. Now, you played the alto sax? Did you play through high school?
When I went to high school, my mother played flute, and I had her flute when I was in high school, so I switched to flute in 9th grade. And then was it the parade, 4th of July parade going in between 10th and 11th grade? We take the bus from Nashwauk to Keewatin because we march in both of them. And I was taking the window and putting it down because it was hot, and my flute fell. And the person sitting next to me didn't pick it up. So I sat down and bent my flute.
Oh, no.
So I had a crash course in bass drum. So I marched in that parade with bass drum. I marched in the Bemidji parade with tom-toms, with the tri-drum.
Right.
There are 3 of them. The
tri-tom.
I don't know their names, but I know how to play them.
Yeah, it's the tri-tom, where it's the
tri-tom.
3. Yeah.
And then when school started, I instead of being 6th chair flute out of 9, I was 2nd chair tenor sax out of 2.
Oh.
So I switched to tenor sax.
Way to go.
A lot more solos. No problem.
Yeah, right.
And my senior year in November, my mom came home from work and I said, "Hey, Mom, what are you doing?" And she goes, "I'm coming home from work." I said, "Oh, I got a recruiter coming over. I need you to sign some papers. I need to go to Minneapolis for a band audition. I'm joining the Marine Corps." She goes, "Can I put my purse down?" She had no idea. None. So yeah, she signed the papers and I went to Duluth and passed my band audition and joined as a poolee in the early program for Marine Corps my senior year. So that was my plan. November of 1982, I made a choice, and that was going to be my future. And it didn't work out quite that way. But, oh, yeah, I got to shoot a land-to-air weapon in Duluth with the Poolee group, and I was the only girl. So I'm there with the Weekend Warriors in Duluth, and we're in an amphibious tank doing maneuvers and stuff. The tank we were in stopped working and started filling up with smoke. I grabbed the gas mask, donned the gas mask. All the other little guys with me were like, "What are we going to do?"
You're like,
then the Weekend Warrior saw what I did and let me go up and let me learn things about driving. And then they needed a volunteer to fire the law at this tank. I was so excited because once I signed my contract and actually went to boot camp, I wouldn't be allowed to do these things because I'm female. And in the 80s, we had separate boot camp. It was different.
Right.
Everything was
Yeah, it
different.
was.
Certain MOSs you couldn't get into as a female. And so, of course, I'm going to volunteer to shoot this thing.
Heck yeah.
So I put the ear things on. I'm left-handed. So he's like, oh my goodness, I got to do it right-handed. So all of my shooting later, I learned how to do right-handed because that's the way they taught me. And I got to put it up on my shoulder. We got to secure it and put everything. I got to shoot that missile out and blow up a tank. It was fun. It's like I am 18 years old, a senior in high school, and I'm having the time of my life.
Yeah, I'm blowing stuff
up. How many people get to do that?
Yeah, I love
Actually
that.
hold a land-to-air missile launcher and blow some
Yeah.
Like I said, I've had a big life and I've done lots of cool things because I take those opportunities. I learn
love
quick
that.
and I'm not afraid to try. And it's fun, some of it. Oh my goodness. But yeah, that was my dream. I wanted to end up being in the president's band someday. I wanted to work my way up through the ranks to be the band that plays when he gets off the plane. That was my goal.
That is so interesting. I've never heard anybody say that.
I've learned
and
guitar, flute, drums, piano, a little bit of organ, lots, I don't know, you name the instrument and I'll give it a shot. I have a lot of fun with instruments, but mainly tenor sax and flute. And I have a flute right here. So I play every once in a while.
Oh, cool.
So I love music. I love creating, and that's all part of it.
I love that you play the guitar.
Guitar I'm learning because I played it right-handed, but I had it on my lap. So I learned how to play it more like a mandolin, more like with it on my lap. And I don't have one strung left-handed. I'm learning right-handed because if I'm out and about, you think I'm going to find a left-handed strung guitar when I'm out somewhere? No, there'll be a right-handed strung. So I'm teaching myself right-handed so that I can play anywhere.
Right.
So
I wish we could find you a left-handed. I wish we could find you the left-handed supplies.
But see, I can't. But it wouldn't serve the purpose. Then it has to stay with me.
Right.
This way I can play anything.
Right. Anywhere.
So, anywhere. I can just pick up a guitar and play. And and all of this is partly because of it being a right-handed world and because of that teacher tying my arm behind my back. It forced neurons to go places and ways that wasn't supposed to go. And it enabled me to easily be ambidextrous. And so that was the side effect of that trauma is I gain gifts out of everything. And that was my
choice.
And so, and you know, I will always find a silver lining. I'm like the most positive person on earth. Drives my daughter crazy because it doesn't matter what it is. There is a positive. You might not like it.
Yeah.
You might not like it, but it's there. It's there. Yeah. But balancing that with cognitive dissonance, because sometimes crap is just crap. And that's a hard lesson for me, is sometimes it's just bad. There's nothing good.
Yeah. About it. And you got to leave it.
Mm-hmm. And you
that's the hard part.
Yourself and go, the good is I'm not in it. The good is I'm not doing this.
And you have the choice. You can say no.
Mm-hmm. You can say, oh, time out, slow down. So many people feel like they got to talk to other people to make their life decisions. And I used to be one of them. I talked to 3, 4, 6, 5, 20 different people about the same thing because I couldn't make up my own mind. I didn't know. Know. I couldn't make it. Everything was such a conflict in my brain.
Did you feel like you didn't know what the right answer was?
The right answer wasn't the church answer, though, wasn't what I needed to do. The right answer went against what my church answers were. So I always had to try and make it fit. and they didn't always fit together, like the coffee. You know, we were
Right.
talking a little bit before, and for me, it's a powerful thing when I say I've been to an LDS 12-step recovery program for drinking coffee in a room with other adults there for masturbation or occasionally looking at pornography. And it really messed with my brain in big ways.
So, all right, let's talk about this part a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, and then maybe we'll go. But in the church, there is clearly a 12-step program.
Yes.
Now, is this 12-step program just across the board for anything?
More like Celebrate Recovery, only LDS scriptures. And
Right. So it's like the LDS version of a 12-step program. And
Mhm.
anything that the LDS feels is not okay
Mhm.
is what you're going to be put in the 12-step program for,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And so, like you said, that can go from masturbation, which they do not approve of, to alcoholism, drugs.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yep.
so it's the whole scale.
Anything. Um, Someone could be um, modifying their. There was one woman there who was modifying her clothing so that it could be shorter, so her garments wouldn't show. She was actually modifying not her garments but her clothes,
Yeah.
and she couldn't stop doing it, and so that's why she was in there, was to stop modifying her clothes.
To get
I
a
know
grip.
to stop modifying her clothing and wear the longer like this, wear something like this instead of like just
Showing the
modifying it
skin.
this, so
Yeah.
that if it were like this, it would still not show the cap sleeve of the garment. And so she was always modifying her clothes to be as small as possible but still cover the garments. And it was considered an obsessive thing. It was not, she needed to accept that she needed to just wear clothing that was more appropriate. So she was in the 12-step recovery program with me. I was
Okay.
there for coffee and she was there for sewing.
All right. And so we were talking about the coffee a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And so I asked you uh, how you were drinking coffee. And you said you picked it up at the gas station. You didn't even have a coffee pot.
Nope. Nope.
You would just pick it up at the gas station every day.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I didn't do it on the weekends, but when I was going to work,
Pick up a cup of coffee.
well, because I wasn't going to use coffee at work. They can't see what I'm drinking coffee.
Right.
I'm a good Mormon. I don't drink coffee.
So you're
So I'd have
sneaking
my
coffee.
undercover cup.
Oh. So
So
you're drinking coffee almost every day.
mhm.
For how long did you say?
I was getting ready. I was feeling like I wanted to get a temple recommend, and every time I know it's a 1 year class, and I knew I wasn't living the word of wisdom because of drinking the coffee. So I went in and talked to the bishop to get help with getting ready to go through temple classes. And first, I had to get that under control before I could go to the class.
So you had to tell the bishop that you were on the coffee
Mm-hmm.
and that you needed to get. Did you have to ask for help getting off? Did you have to say, I'm doing this and I'm
This is just what he offered me. That was, offered to, it's not, I was informed it's not shameful. I won't be with people from my ward. I'll be people with they switch out. You meet at like a different stake building or something. Um, the LDS church, they have the whole world in these boundaries. And so you go to church based on where you live. So your address is assigned to a ward, and that's where you go. You don't go anywhere else. So I want to let people understand that. It's not like you're choosing, I like this building or it's close to this. It's literally based on your address.
Right.
And the whole world is divided up. And
So
so,
now for this program, you're going to go to someplace not close
well,
to home.
a stake is got normally, I think, 5 or 6 wards in it. And so they paired you up with people in different wards within the same stake. So you're not
Okay.
with people in your ward. So it's like there might be one person from each ward that meets at this meeting time for
Okay.
their recovery program.
So
So they have
um, how long do you have to, how long does it take to get through the 12-step program? I
like
mean, I know there's,
you can do it for it's as long as you need to be in it.
however, okay, how long did it take you?
I was in it for 3.5 months and then developed such a aversion, a mental aversion. Coffee would lead me straight to the hell that, like I said, that in my brain, it would take me straight to hell. We don't believe in hell. There's outer
Right.
darkness. But in my brain, because of being associated with other churches,
Right.
when I was with my mom, I'd take the Baptist bus. We had mentioned that.
Right.
And so I had other verbiage. So coffee in my head would take me to hell. I could do anything else in my mind and recover, but I could not drink coffee.
And how was that going for you during the program?
The program helped me get to the point where it was just a talk. It was just bad. It was poison for me.
And you were okay with not having it?
It became my measure. It was my measure of evil. Coffee is the extreme evil. All sin is equal. There's no sin is equal in the eyes
Right.
of whether you do this or that. The sin itself is equal. Your consequences can be different based on what you do, but the sin itself, there's not a greater or lesser sin.
Right.
So me drinking coffee will keep me out of the celestial kingdom just as much as anything else would. So for me, that was it. That was the evil incarnate. I could have sex outside of marriage. I could do anything I wanted as long as I drink coffee in my head. For me, that's how
Right.
serious it became. And it was in 2013 when I started drinking coffee again, just after my third husband and I separated.
And you
Kind of
went
freaked him
through
out. I kind of freaked him out. He's like, I can't believe you're drinking coffee. Yeah.
that you started drinking coffee again? Because you went through, we were talking about it earlier, you went through the 12-step program for coffee when you were 25 years old.
Yes.
So that is really young, in my opinion, to be going through such
I
a
was
rigorous
clean from coffee until 2020,
shit.
which is when I quit drinking alcohol. I've been sober almost 13 years. So I guess I switched alcohol for coffee. So that's a good thing.
Well, I don't know. That'll be another talk, Kim.
Oh, Jules, the whole coffee thing is very entertaining. Oh my God, she knows. Oh, God.
We're going to have to talk more about it, Jules. I want to know more about it.
They knew I smoked cigarettes. I'd go in my car. She'd sit on the sidewalk out front of the house. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go for a drive. I don't want them seeing me.
Right.
And I wouldn't.
They do.
I just wouldn't. And even though they knew, I just, no. But my sister, no, they can see. It's all good.
Yeah. Sisters get all the privileges, don't they? The good, the bad, the ugly.
Oh, it's all good. But yeah, then when I went through in 2012, going through the 12-step program at Lily Gulch was my home group in Colorado. And I went through the program differently, but the same, because the steps are the same, but only focusing on alcohol. and only focusing on some real damage and real things, not the coffee damages of a
Right.
12-step. Doing a 4-step inventory on coffee, it was far different than a 4th step inventory on alcohol.
Yes.
Let me tell you, very different.
Yes.
And it was good. And I got a sponsor. And it was a good experience. And I'm sober now. But it's interesting now that I think about it. Yeah, I started drinking coffee when I quit drinking. That's kind of, that's something to mull over. A little bit of an addictive personality there. I think I always have to have something.
Yeah, well, I can't say, everybody knows I'm a smoker, and it's terrible. But those little addictions are tough.
But putting it to your afterlife, putting it to the expectations of, coffee being
Yes.
at that level, coffee being a sin that is,
beyond.
Coffee. Yeah, coffee is a sin. Like gossip and all kinds of other sins, but coffee, and I fully accepted it. I fully embraced it and could quote the, section 89 of what the word of wisdom is, and combat with how it was a revelation and it was called of God and all these other things. And then finding out more truths of it and how it all came about. Because the men were spitting tobacco on the floor and there was smoke, and Emma, Joseph's wife, had to clean it all the time. And so she said it'd be nice if God revealed something about this. And then one of the men,
Smith's wife.
Yep. And then one of the men overhearing it said, oh, well, you got to include something about the hot drinks. And this is why hot drinks is even in there, because it was to help prevent the women from gossiping, because they'd sit around with their tea and talk. And so by having this in the word of wisdom, it prevented them from gathering. So there's all kinds of caveats that went into the word of wisdom that I learned later in the past few years. And the word of wisdom episode then on Mormon stories, which I have saved on my playlist and I watch over and over, helps me heal. It helps me learn about the temperance movement that was in place. It helped me learn about all the things going on and where everything came from. And that helps clear up a little bit. But the fact it's still doctrine, it's still a sin, baffles my mind. I can't. It's just, that fact alone is an insanity of this church. It's just, and that they still would be sending people and are sending people to a 12-step program for drinking coffee.
Right. Well, and a lot of the things, unfortunately, that qualify for their 12-step program are truthfully just normal human behaviors, a lot of them, and but I think it's very difficult when we're talking about any high control group, people, religion, to try to make sense of some of this nonsense. Like you just said, you traced it back to Emma Smith picking up, cleaning up, which was just a nonsense of a thing. Right? For
and the next day, the revelation came the next morning. And that's in the heading of the doctrine, in the section 89. In the header, it talks about why and how things for that section. And reading it with a different mindset is what it took. Because I've read it so many times, but actually understanding, oh yeah, and it's a biggie, and it's one you'll hear me harp on quite a bit, probably the rest of my life, because it's insanity run amok. It's just ridiculous.
It is.
To have the judgment and the self-policing and all of this over a beverage that is so normal in many cultures, especially cultures that they're going into.
Yes,
and
that's
CJ, Coffee Drinkers Anonymous. Groups meeting at 7 p.m. in the basement of Lutheran Church after AA.
Will there be coffee there? I need coffee to
Oh
be
no, that's right. We have to go before the AA meeting, so there's no coffee there
there.
then.
Right.
Because we'll have coffee at the AA meeting, trust me.
We
And
will.
chocolate. Always chocolate and
Oh
coffee.
yeah. Well,
But it's learning and experiencing things with an open mind in a different way. And stuff like that still, it just trips me up. And then from tithing, I wouldn't tip more than 10% because I'm not giving a human being more than I give God. And this was
yeah.
something my dad, we didn't go out to eat very much.
Yeah.
So it's just something I adopted. And as many people in the service industry, yeah, I'm that person. I am that person who would not. I just wouldn't. I didn't care. No, I'm not going to tip you more than that. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you God? No, you don't get more than God. And now, yeah, I'll give you 20%. Give me some good
Right.
food.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
stifling. It's the stifling. It's all the money put into something. There's so much loss with the entire. I feel like I have a lifetime that was taken from me. And
Yes.
the only way I get through each day is knowing that I have a life given to me, irregardless. I'm here.
Yes.
Nothing's been taken from me yet. I'm still here.
Yes.
So I'm reclaiming a life and developing me. And unapologetically, I get to be me. And it's about damn time. A lot of friends are saying, yay, go be
Yes.
you. We've been
Most
waiting.
certainly, it's time. Yes. And I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your family. I'm excited for you ladies. Um, to finally have each other. To finally have some real support, some understanding. You guys can talk about things. I know that there's the hush hush for many a year where nobody can say anything. I'm happy to see you guys helping each other heal and build and what's coming next. It's exciting.
I know. And that's, the good part is, next week, we'll, as far as this, what's next is we'll, start moving on into, a little bit ending of 12 and 13. There's some physical abuse that existed. And then it just moves on to the next little part of high school, which is a lot of fun. The little bit,
Yeah.
a kid on their own, basically, with parents that are just not the same
Not
type of
available.
involvement. Yeah, not available in the same way, and having different people guiding me through it. Very close. I was active at the Lutheran Church and was confirmed Lutheran. And there was a family there that I would go to their house every Sunday after church and hang out and do chores. And it just had a blast. And so I've always had guidance in those areas because it was important to me. My mom and stepdad didn't go to church. It was very important to me to go. And so
Right.
I made that happen. And that's the
Right.
one thing, no matter what your age is, you're going to do those things that are important. And if it's important, positive or negative, you'll make it happen.
Oh, absolutely.
So
And
I
you'll
made it
seek
happen.
out. Yeah. You'll look for what you're needing. For
And
sure.
so, yeah, there we go. Woo.
All right.
We went long tonight.
We did go long, but we talked about a lot of stuff. And I think next week will be fun. We'll be in your teenage years and maybe get into your early 20s a little bit.
And then I showed Tiff during this time of my life, I used to journal. And the journals were all basically, I don't know, they were the same. It was fluff. It was a fluff life. There wasn't anything real in my journaling, which is why I destroyed them all. Um, and then I started writing when I was in high school. That's when I started writing poetry, short stories, and I started writing and writing and writing. And I didn't share most of the time. I'm just beginning to do what I want to do with all of that. But it started there. Later, I quit writing because of journaling. I started journaling again, and that's a thing with the church. You're encouraged to journal daily, and part of this recovery is me learning to express myself in the written word. Because to me, when you write it, it's forever. You can, whatever you want to say, you can say, but the written word, that's real. I want to be able to take paper to pen again and start writing, and I'm not quite there yet. And that's a biggie for me, to be able to express myself in these ways with this new brain. And it's fun looking at the old stuff, and that's why tomorrow I do a poetry reading with Brian at 2:00, and so people will be getting to hear my stuff finally.
I know. I was just getting ready to pull that up. It's
Yeah.
at
It's
the
at 2
2
o'clock,
Central Time.
2 Central Time. Yeah. He
2
does a
Central
half
Time.
hour every Friday, and I'm going to plug for him. If you want to share your poetry, get a hold of him via the Book of Face or YouTube. He's got plenty of ways, and he'd love to have you. It's a half hour. So you can share your writing. We do lots of finger snap emojis because there's no clapping allowed. And you get to
Yeah, that's
experience
so cute.
you get to experience our version of a little poetry reading in some little club. So be there, be square. Come join us.
Yes. Let's see. I just found it. All right. So tomorrow, like I said, 2:00
Central Time.
Central Time, and then I'll put his. Yeah, I'm excited to watch Kim and Brian as well.
Oh, Brian, it's going to be fun. Brian's
I
awesome.
know. He really is. He is. He is. He is.
Brian is awesome. And we've both been active in various chats on YouTube for a year and a half together, and this will be one of our first times actually communicating in this way. He's got his own publishing company now, and so he's working. He's done one book of his own, and
I have his.
so do I. I have his book too.
I have his book hanging up there.
And so it's neat being able to see all these other personalities coming out of the woodworks on his little thing. He just started it a month ago, and it's just awesome. It's a nice, safe place if you're ever wanting to share your poetry and haven't done it before.
Yeah, he is definitely.
Yep,
He's
from
just
a
such
poet.
a good guy.
Oh, he is.
I might have him in here. You never know what's in. Okay, let's see. Here's we're gonna do Kim and Kim D. Hi on Facebook. Rio for Life on YouTube. Rock It Out at Venmo. Right? No, Venmo is Rio for Life GGGG 4Gs.
Oh,
and buy me a coffee. Rock It Out.
I didn't know Venmo has 4Gs. I'll have to double check that.
Okay. We'll have to check.
I've never seen it out.
Check it. We'll have to check it. And then, yeah, so if you're not subscribed to her, go subscribe to her. Check her out. Send her a couple of shekels.
Yep. Like and subscribe and share TIFFs. She does all kinds of cool little things. She's got a little Facebook group she keeps going and helps so many people in amazing ways. I've just been watching what she does, and she's very good at the support that she gives. And so if you're lucky enough to be in part of these groups or watching her randomness when she goes live, it's a very healing thing. So pop on in and check it out.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. And then we will see you guys
Next
next
week.
Wednesday. Yep. Next
Yep.
Wednesday. Same time, right? 9
Hmm.
Central.
Sounds good.
All right, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you
We'll
so
see
much,
ya.
Kim. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Bye bye. Have a good night.
Good night.